the 38th edition of the Annual International Conference and Exhibition of the Nigerian Association of Petroleum Explorationists, Nape. What interesting times we're living in the year 2020. When we closed out the conference of 2019, who would have thought that many of you will be joining us virtually on Zoom to be participating in this year's opening ceremony? Amazing times we live in, right? But I'm enjoying the hybrid of virtual, online, and on-site participants at events of this nature. Welcome, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and indeed, a very good morning, or afternoon, or evening, depending on where in the world you are joining us from today, because part of the advantages of this year's hybrid event is that we get the opportunity to reach out to people from all parts of the world. So welcome from wherever you are joining us this day. I'd like to also say a warm welcome and good morning to my very distinguished ladies and gentlemen in the room this morning. We welcome all of you. My name is Richmond Osuji, and exactly 7 years after the association started, the annual conference and exhibition kicked in. And today, as I said earlier, is the 38th edition. We're looking at accelerating growth in Nigeria's hydrocarbon reserves, emerging concepts, challenges, and opportunities. Some have questioned, why are we seeking to grow reserves as the world is shifting its attention to renewables? Some others have said we must make most of what we have. Even when they shift, we'll still have a lot of demand on fossil fuel. But NAPE's business is to increase those reserves and help the country and the industry find oil where it is on the ground and assist to bring it up for usage. And that is why we're here today. And I'm confident in the next few days, when we get into the conversations and the discussions, we would definitely come up with ideas. We'll definitely come up with solutions that would help policymakers and government to address some of the challenges and indeed advance the course of our industry. So real quick, I will get into the business of the morning as I ask very respectfully that those of my distinguished guests in the room and those of you joining me virtually, can we all please rise for the national anthem of Nigeria? Of Nigeria, we may be seated. Thank you. Sound. Okay, I got my sound. Your Excellencies, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in the oil and gas industry, safety is not a Cinderella. Safety is a core part of our business. And therefore, whenever we gather like this, we will pay attention to safety. We are seated inside the Orchid Hall of Eco Hotel and Suites. And indeed, we do not have, according to the hotel, any planned drill today. So should there be a continuous ringing of an alarm, that of course is saying safety, we just orderly proceed through the exit doors that are clearly marked to my left and right and locate the nearest muster point, which would be by the main exit between Eco Signature and the convention center, and also by the pool side, which is down the stairs towards the restaurant area. But of course, as I said earlier, we live in interesting times. We live in the COVID era. We've been asked to do social distancing, limit handshakes, and wear our face masks and wash our hands as often as we can and sanitize. However, those of you who are joining us virtually, there's one social distancing you must not do today. Don't social distance from the device you're watching us from, right? until the end of this day's event, then you can do that. Okay, Your Excellencies, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Continuing, I want to recognize, though joining us virtually, His Excellency Professor Yemi Oshimbajo, SANGCON, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who is represented at this event by His Excellency Chief Timipre Silva, the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources. We welcome Your Excellencies. We're also being joined online this morning by the Group Managing Director of the NMPC, Mr. Mele Kiari. We welcome you, sir. The Director of the Department of Petroleum Resources, Engineer Sarki Anwalu, is also online with us this morning. We welcome you, sir. And of course, while the sea was stormy and the vessel, the ship or the boat was beating left, right, and center by COVID, by no sponsorship, and all the challenges that has greeted this year, this gentleman has led the executive committee this year to deliver this conference in this hybrid fashion. I speak of the president of Nape, Mr. Alex Nachitaka. Good morning, sir, and welcome. F. Nape, of course. Thank you very much. What a delight I'm sure Nape would feel. 45 years into her life, Nape has produced some of the finest CEO and founding CEOs of E&P companies in Nigeria. And one of such eminent Nape member and past president is our keynote speaker this morning. Interestingly, his company is also sponsoring our opening ceremony. So I want to recognize our keynote speaker this morning, Chief Dr. Tunde Afolabi, MFR FNAPE. Good morning, sir. When you are a captain of industry and you also have a spouse who's also a captain of industry, you can imagine the excellence you would produce in business. I speak of the former executive director at ExxonMobil, Engineer Sheyi Afolabi, and spouse of our keynote speaker. Good morning, ma'am, and welcome. Of course, we also have our own very second female president-elect of NAPE, who has also led the team in delivering doggedly this year's conference, our president-elect, Madam Pat Ochobo F. NAPE. Good morning, ma'am. We're also joined by a former head of service of the Federation, Professor Oladapo Afolabi. Prof, we welcome you. Good morning. The Group Managing Director of Amni Petroleum Development Company Limited is also here with us, Mr. Wole Olafison. Good morning, sir, and welcome. What blessing we have at NAPE, what privilege we enjoy, that our past presidents, our fellows are always in the room when we meet and discuss from January till this very month of November, talking about continuing education. We're delighted to have our BOT chairman in the room this morning, a past president as well, Mr. Chamberlain Oyibo, FNAPE. Good morning, sir. Another past president, Mr. James Orife, FNAPE. Good morning, sir. Now, because of time, I may not be able to recognize all our executive council members, both outgoing and incoming. You'll get to meet them a little later, virtually and physically present here. But we recognize our Vice President, Abiodun Ogunjobi, and all members of the Executive Council. We recognize captains of the industry that have joined us virtually, MDs of IOCs, MDs of independent companies and service companies. We welcome all of you. Thank you for joining us online. We cannot forget you, distinguished members of NAPE, young professionals and student members of NAPE. We welcome all of you, especially those joining us online. Gentlemen of the press, we leave you not out, for you tell our story ever so well, internationally and locally. We welcome all of you. Once again, my name is Richmond Osuji. Continuing with my agenda for this morning, I'd like to now take an address by the president-elect. Please join me in welcoming Patricia Ochobo F. Nape.
Good morning, everyone. I welcome you to this august occasion of our 38th annual conference and exhibition. This year has been a fantastic year in terms of the challenges and the opportunities that are hiding within. We are NAPE. We are geoscientists. We take on the world's toughest energy challenges and we bring oil out from under the ground. So here is my speech. I am so sorry, because this is mostly virtual, Because this is mostly virtual, we have done away with printing as much as possible just to save the environment and to save costs. I am excited and extremely privileged to welcome you all to this 38th Nape Annual International Conference and Exhibition, which we call AICE. This year's theme is Accelerating Growth in Nigeria's Hydrocarbon Reserves, Emerging Concepts, Challenges, and Opportunities. So you will see that the leadership of NAPE had some pre-science because this was the theme they chose as far back as last year, before we ever knew anything about COVID. And of course, we're rising to the challenge. This year has really been a challenging one in many dimensions. Coronavirus pandemic, which came and altered the way we live, the way we conduct our businesses, and even the way we relate with one another, such that planning this conference gave us a bit of hassles because we were thinking the virus will be a short-term thing, and in 2 months it will be gone, then in 6 months it will be gone. But we had to plan on so many scenarios. And today we are here delivering a hybrid conference where we have a limited virtual physical presence and hundreds of people online on all our social media platforms are watching this event. The NAPE executive, of course, they were faced with this challenge and they rose up to it. And we went for the bold option of having every program as much as practicable. We actually started with a pre-conference field trip, which brought about the dogged determination in every one of our members who worked tirelessly to deliver that. And as at the last count, we had well over 300 people attend that event. This happened on the 13th of November. On the 14th and 15th of November, we went ahead to have our pre-conference short courses. 2 courses ran parallel in parallel. And I'm delighted to announce that we had a full house. I also want to thank the organizations that sponsored those events and also the personnel that used their time and effort to deliver that, because they spent like 5-6 hours on their devices delivering the school. Of course, the conference continued. Yesterday, we had the pre-conference workshop. It was an exciting time. It was fantastic because I was glued to my device. I had my headphones on so that I would not miss any part. And the beauty of what NAPE does is that traditionally, we have our pre-conference workshop a day before the conference. And Communique is developed by a talented group of men, and sometimes some women, whom we call rapporteurs. I know for a fact that they do not sleep on the night of the pre-conference workshop because they have to get the communique ready. And of course, they do not disappoint because they deliver. And why is that so important for NAPE? It is because at this event, the communique will be read out, and we will make every effort as NAPE to publish these findings in the national dailies, and we would hand deliver a copy to the highest ranking government official. In this case, a copy will go to His Excellency, the Vice President of Nigeria. A copy will go to the Minister, the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, and a copy will also go to the GMD of NNPC, Mr. Mele Kyari. Between those 3 people, we believe that government will hear our voice. The rest of the program of this conference will flow in our normal ways. Today, after this event, we're going to have the management session where we have the singular honor to have dual sponsors for one event, dual keynote speakers in the persons of Mr. Ojulari of Shell and Mr. Sangster, of Total. They will be giving an excellent talk this afternoon. So for everyone who is listening and who is available in the room, please tune in for more exciting things. The rest of the conference would follow with technical presentations, with posters, with innovations that we have tried to bring into today's conference, to this year's conference. We are having a virtual exhibition. And I thank all the companies, all the institutions who believed in Nape, who bought into our ideas and paid good money to participate in those exhibitions. I believe strongly that every challenge has hidden inside it an opportunity. And what we have done this year is to tap into the opportunities that we saw in the challenges brought about by COVID-19 and the low oil prices. Please stay tuned. You're very welcome. Enjoy this conference. Finally, on Thursday, we shall be having our awards night. It will be similar to this event, some limited physical presence and a lot of virtual presence. And at that time, I shall become your president. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patricia Ochobo F. Nape, President-elect and Chair of the Conference Planning Committee for 2020. What a year to be Conference Planning Committee Chair. Interesting year indeed. But they have delivered, I tell you. They have done excellently well. They've done excellently well. Okay, so Your Excellencies, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, just before I bring up the next speaker, come now. Give me wait up as you. Yeah. Okay, thank you. I hope you can all hear me, yes. I wanted to have this option in case any of my speakers would want to just speak without holding the mic. I wanted to have that option. Okay, so we'll continue from the president-elect now to the president's address of Nape. It is customary that we'll listen to the president at this opening ceremony. We'll now welcome our president, a manager with Nigerian Petroleum Development Company, NPDC, and a fellow of our association, Alex Nachi Taka.
I'm very excited about today's event. Just like the PA have said, I have to give my opening remarks for this conference, which is mandatory. This is the opening remarks from the president of Nape as announced for the conference, the 38th annual conference and exhibition taking place virtually and physically. Our special guests of honor, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency, Professor Yemi Osibajo, SAN, GCON. Our host, the Executive Governor of Lagos State, His Excellency, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Our guest of honor, the Group Managing Director of NNPC, Malam Mary Kolokyari, FNAPE, my own GMD, the man that have supported me 100% to lead this great association. Our special guest, the Director of DPR, CEO, Dr. Engineer Serki Awalu, MNSE, the president of NMGS, Engineer O.S. Nkom, FNMGS, SP Nigeria Council Chair, Engineer Olatunji Akinwumi, the Registrar of Communique and CEO, Professor Zacchaeus Opafunsho, members of the National Assembly joining us virtually, the Lagos State Commissioner of Energy and Mineral Resources, Engineer Olare Odosute, our dear friends, managing directors and captains of the industry, executive committee members of Nape, past and present, past presidents of Nape, members of the BOT and Advisory Council of Nape, fellows of Nape present with us here and those virtually with us, the 2020 Conference Planning Committee members, Nape Conference sponsors and exhibitors, president of professional bodies that have joined us, AAPG, SEG, virtually, EAGE, and several others, vice chancellors of Nigerian universities, our dear friends, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to each and every one at any location you might have been at this moment. On behalf of the Executive Committee and entire membership of the Nigerian Association of Petroleum Explorationists, it is my honor and privilege to deliver my opening remarks at our 30th Annual International Conference and Exhibition, held under the theme, Accelerating Growth in Nigeria's Hydrocarbon Reserves, Emerging Concepts, Challenges, and Opportunities. In every challenge, like where we find ourselves, there are still opportunities. I would like to thank everyone who is part of this auspicious event. I'm happy to declare our deep appreciation and gratitude to our special guest of honor, His Excellency, Professor Yemi Osibajo, SAN, GCON, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, for honoring our invitation and assigning our Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources to stand in for him at this event, in spite of the immense responsibilities of your officer and demands of your time, together with that of the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources. Our special words of thanks goes to Chief Tunde Afolabi, our own Chief, FNAPE, MFR, Chairman of Amni International Petroleum Development Company, who will be delivering today's keynote address. May I also take this opportunity to thank our distinguished speakers and panelists, who are high-level industry practitioners, key personnel in government and the academia, who will be delivering technical papers on the 7 sub-themes of this conference. I would like to thank our distinguished delegates attending from all over the world. As you may be aware, Nape turned 45 this year, in August, and we had that celebration on the 15th of August. Please permit me to mention our gratitude and appreciation to all the men and women who have contributed to shaping the many and varied legacies of our great association in the past 45 years of its existence. We salute your vision and commend you for your continuous support and encouragement. Some of you are here with us. We appreciate you, sir. My words may not be capable of communicating our gratitude and appreciation to the sponsors of this opening ceremony, Amni International Petroleum Development Company Limited. We are very grateful for your kind support over the years, and particularly so in these extremely challenging times. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, oil and gas will continue to be fuels of choice for the foreseeable future, and conventional and unconventional hydrocarbons are likely to remain the main components of the energy mix needed to meet the growing global energy demand, because as population increases, there's bound to be energy demand. So we are going to sustain the discussions around the renewables while we forge ahead with what we are set up to do, the business of exploration for hydrocarbons. But in mitigating the environmental impact of hydrocarbon exploration, production, and utilization, Nigeria is at risk of long-term disruption to oil and gas supplies, power generation, a collapse of industries, and significant loss of revenue due to continued reduction in hydrocarbon exploration activities because of the expensive nature of exploration and the price of crude. Currently, a lot of companies are playing down on exploration. Reduction in hydrocarbon exploration and production has dire consequences for a country like Nigeria with a mono economy hinged on crude oil. Technology is the heart of all the significant achievements in the oil and gas industry. The way hydrocarbon is discovered, developed, and produced has been impacted by evolutionary technologies that have emerged since the Drake well of 1859. But the challenge is how far Nigeria has traveled down the technology road. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, yesterday we held our annual pre-conference workshop where the team levers for optimal cost reduction in Nigeria's oil and gas production, positioning for the new normal. I'm pleased to announce that the workshop was very successful. A communique arising from that workshop will be read here today, and a copy will be handed over to our special guest of honor, His Excellency, Professor Yemi Osibajo, SAN, GCON, as well as the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, His Excellency, our own Timothy Silva, as well as the GMD of NNPC, Malam Mary Kolokyari, Nape, just like the PA mentioned earlier. We believe that this will help to get fully deeply into government attention for implementation, and it will be transmitted to the presidency for implementation fully. It is gratifying to note that key pieces of legislation, such as the Marginal Field Act and the Deepwater Act, were all based on templates that came out of previous Nape pre-conference workshop communiques. In the next 3 days, you'll be listening to presentations and discussions on the petroleum business and the regulatory environment with a view to addressing the challenges of exploration and production in onshore, offshore, and Nigeria's frontier basins, as well as government and regulatory agencies, support and funding, cash call exits and incentives, new fiscal regimes, PIB, NIPEX, operations, licensing round, refining capacity, and domestic gas market. The conference will also be beaming its searchlight on new technology application in exploration and production, using big data, digitalization, and data analytics, artificial intelligence opportunities, etc. Participants at the conference will also be discussing the impact of renewable and unconventional energy resources in the oil and gas industry, as well grooming the next generation of E&P professionals. A lot of our YPs are part of this program. Finally, I would like to express my gratitude to members of the Conference Planning Committee, organizers of this event, under the able leadership of the President-elect, Mrs. Patricia Ochogbu, Nape. We thank you for putting together Nape's first virtual conference. Ladies and gentlemen, what you are seeing here today is a testament of their creativity, innovation, and hard work with sleepless nights. I hope you will find the next couple of days a pleasant and rewarding experience. Before I close this event, it is significant to mention in particular and to express my personal appreciation to the GMD of NNPC and the entire management for the support I received throughout my service in Nape for the past 6 years, especially as the ongoing president. I want to formally announce at this forum that the corporation sponsors all my activities. As the sitting president of Nape, I run the office of the president of Nape with 100% support of NNPC, my constituency, at no cost to Nape. I'm proud to announce it, and I'm grateful to the management of the corporation for such unusual opportunity. That's why yesterday, when we presented the auditor's report, for the first time in a long while, there was no question asked. In closing, please permit me to quote Mahatma Gandhi, who said, "Speed is irrelevant if you are going in the wrong direction." I sincerely hope that this conference will achieve all its objectives and that great progress will be made not only in accelerating the growth in the Nigerian hydrocarbons reserves and the Nigerian oil and gas industry in general, but that it will also articulate an agenda that will point the oil and gas industry in the right direction. Long live Nape, long live the oil and gas industry, long live the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you all for listening.
Sound. Is he on? Sound. Okay, so we'll keep improving. We keep improving because of these times that we live in. Okay. This thing is not staying. Come and fix this thing while I do my thing. Eh? Okay, thank you very much, Mr. President. Give me sound back here. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Come on, please, one more time, give our president a round of applause. Thank you very much, Mr. President. He's just detailed some of the things that the association has done in this year in spite of the difficulties the Executive Council has faced, and also guiding us through what to expect for the rest of the days for this year's conference. Your Excellencies, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we'll keep going back to our conference theme, which is on accelerating hydrocarbon reserves in our country and our industry. Our next speaker is one of those illustrious members of this great association who, long before many people thought it wise to start discussing the issues around marginal fields development, long before a lot of people started thinking of involving Nigerians to own and operate E&P companies, he was driven by that same passion, by that same goal, to ensure that Nigerians benefit maximally from this resource, not just for individuals, but for the greater good of our nation. An astute businessman, a renowned industry expert, an industry leader with decades of experience, and one of those Nape past presidents who is doing the association proud as entrepreneurs who have founded an E&P company and successfully operating the same. I am delighted this morning to invite this gentleman as our keynote speaker on the theme of this year's conference. He will be looking at the next 5 years or more of the Nigerian oil and gas industry as it concerns us in Nigeria, and hopefully as it concerns us as Africans. So please join me in welcoming a fellow of our association, a member of the Federal Republic, and indeed one that has been honored by a lot of institutions for his contributions to those institutions with the honorary doctorate degree. Please welcome with me Chief Dr. Tunde Afolabi, MFR FNAPE.
I'm very pleased to be here today to give the opening keynote address at this NAPE's 38th Virtual Annual International Conference and Exhibition. I give honor, glory, and adoration to the Almighty God, who has preserved our lives in these challenging times as the coronavirus pandemic continues to ravage many countries and communities around the world. We thank him, the Almighty, for sparing our lives to witness this day and participate in this conference. I heartily welcome our special guests of honor, the Vice President, His Excellency Professor Yemi Oshibajo, SAN, GCON. I also like to thank the President of NAPE, Mr. Alex Taka, FNAPE, the chief host of this occasion, who along with his executive council selected me to be the keynote speaker and the sponsor of this year's conference. I stand on all existing protocols except for that to my wife. I thank you for staying up all night, trying to put this together, and to all my staff who are here. And one of them hasn't slept all night because we just want the best. And we went through this, I don't know how many times. So thank you, all those who contributed to this presentation. The title of this paper is in line with the theme of the conference, which is Accelerating Growth in Nigeria's Hydrocarbon Reserves, Emerging Concepts, Challenges, and Opportunities, which is going to be focusing on issues relevant to oil and gas exploration, development, and portfolio management. In my address, with the hope that time will permit me, I would like to take you through the historical evolution of Nigeria's oil and gas industry, its transformation, the future of the industry now and in the medium term, challenges and constraints, including policy recommendations. The slides are on. Nigeria is one of the oldest oil-producing countries in Africa, having begun in 1908 in the Araromi area in the present day of Ondo State by the Nigerian Bitumen Corporation. However, it wasn't until January 1956 that the first commercial discovery took place at Oloibiri by Shell. And I think those who are working on the slides are asleep. So it should be slide 3 right now. No, back up. Anyway, I'll go on. You do yours. What I had on there was actually the first wellhead of Oloibiri wellhead, not platform, but the Christmas tree that actually had that, okay, that Oloibiri #1. That was the very first well that was built in Nigeria. This discovery was a transformation or transformative one because within 2 years, Nigeria had attained the status of an oil-producing country and securing its status. Next slide. That picture, I'm not so sure whether that was the first tanker that loaded oil from Nigeria or one of the tankers that have loaded oil from Nigeria, but this is a tanker similar to what could have lifted the first oil cargo from Nigeria. And as a major producer during the oil price boom of the 70s, we transformed it from an agrarian economy, unfortunately, to an oil-dependent economy. Next slide. Since then, Nigerian petroleum industry has evolved and transformed in response to the demands, supply, and prices in the international market. By 2020, Nigeria's oil and condensate reserves were estimated at 36.9 billion barrels and well over 200 trillion cubic feet of gas. Nigeria's offshore oil and gas industry continues to expand, opening more market opportunities and revenues to all players, especially in the 70s during the oil boom. However, since then, Nigerian industry activities correlate directly with market forces of demand and supply, commonly known as the cyclical or cyclical boom and bust periods. It is instructive to note that financial institutions during periods of price crashes, such as the one we experienced early this year, are usually jittery for fear of default in loan repayment and are payment rescheduling by oil companies, especially the indigenous producers. The transformation experienced in the Nigerian oil and gas industry has been on several fronts. First, the industry, which was once dominated by the IOCs, next slide, up until year 2000, has among its ranks now independent producers by year 2020. So we've missed 2 slides. The first slide was showing you what the picture of the basin looked like for licenses by the IOCs, and the 2020, which I think is the one that you have right now, shows you how busy the Niger Delta basin is with all the IOC licenses and the indigenous operators licenses. And yeah, by the look of things, coming out of the DPR, this may still grow more in the coming weeks or even days by the new licensing round. Secondly, the newcomers, that is the independents, and I don't like calling them, the names that the industry has been calling them, but I prefer calling us independents, are bringing into the industry and consequently into the Nigerian economy billions of US dollars. Today, the country's 37 billion barrels less NMPC equity of oil shared is shared 72% by the IOCs reserves and 28% by the independents. Ironically, share by the operations follow the same percentages or percentage shares as shown here on the next slide. Nigeria has the 7th largest gas reserve in the world, with proven reserves of over 200 TCF, with additional potential of close to 600 TCF. Obviously, gas is Nigeria's future. Over 300 years of reserve at today's consumption rate, 300 years of reserves. The country currently produces about 8 billion cubic feet of gas per day, majority of which is used in producing LNG, about 3.5 billion cubic feet of gas per day. Power generation, and nobody can tell you exactly how much is actually being consumed for power generation, but it's a bit, it's quite a bit, because we're now doing 5.8 5,800 megawatts of power, and only about 1,200 is being produced by hydro. So the remaining 4,600 is being produced by thermal, by gas. So it's very difficult to really tell how much is really being used for power generation. Some of that gas is being used for reservoir pressure maintenance. So we do have some that are being reinjected. And of course, we have the proverbial flaring, which, so we don't have a use for right now. But without doubt, the future of the country's forex lies in maximizing gas utilization. Emerging concepts. The geophysical and geological technologies have improved and continually improve, principally due to highly enhanced computational power, data transmission, and visualization capabilities. There have been advantages in all areas of the E&P cycle. In the first phase of the cycle, where seismic is acquired, land acquisition has been transformed by the use of nodal technology, which eliminates the need for cables and has minimal impact on the environment. Offshore, the enhanced computing capacity and both design has enabled or have enabled cable technology to efficiently acquire more data with less noise to adversely impact the return signal quality. There have also been advances in electromagnetic data acquisition to areas with potential hydrocarbon accumulations. This was actually used on the discovery that was made on Opera 310 a couple of years ago. Due to the advancements in computing power and visualization capability, and interpretation platforms have improved immensely and allow for the integration of geological and geophysical data. The current focus from a development perspective is the construction of the field static model, that is depositional environment, petrophysical data, seismic attributes. All these advanced neural network technology are used to populate the models in areas outside of well control. In this area, artificial intelligence or machine learning is being used to enhance the quality and efficiency of processing. AMNI is working with an artificial intelligence company named Malliance, utilizing some of our field data to better understand the technology and its potential application in the reservoir engineering side of field models. There have been significant increase in the technical capability of acquiring data downhole while drilling. In addition to the usual petrophysical data, it is now possible to acquire downhole pressure data and samples, rock samples, NMR, and also limited testing. There are also enhanced well steering capabilities that allow the accurate replacement of complex well trajectories into the optimal part of the reservoir. Way forward and conclusion. In conclusion, I would like to submit that the future of the oil and gas industry, so I'm sorry, I think I skipped one page. At the end of the last cycle of 2010 and the beginning of the current cycle in 2019-2020, when the pandemic COVID-19 catapulted the global economy into its free fall, oil prices suffered their steepest decline in more than 20 years. I think the next slide. No, before that. The consequence of a global economic decline, which leads to a reduction in crude demand and a predictable price collapse, and international curtailment in global spending. Without investments in oil and gas technologies, there can be no new innovations. Clearly related to economic depression is insecurity, particularly in Nigeria. Nigeria oil and gas industry is gradually becoming the highest per barrel production cost environment, where cost of providing securities is responsible for close to 30% of our OPEX. And let me repeat that. Cost of producing or providing security in our operating area is responsible for close to 30% of our OPEX. Ironically and unfortunately, the security people were more difficult to cut costs during this ongoing depression. When you tell them that you need to reduce costs, they will tell you that the area boys are waiting. In order to secure further investment and conform with industry best practices, the government needs to put in place investment-friendly policies that will attract both domestic and foreign investors to the industry. The draft bill contains a wide range of provisions that will significantly recalibrate the composition and operations of the various government agencies that currently regulate the oil sector, including creation of new regulatory institutions. I don't know whether we need more. Strengthening and reforming of existing ones, deregulation of the downstream sector, which we are all witnessing now, restructuring government participation in the industry, and ensuring transparency in contractual agreements. When the bill is finally passed and with adequate representation and inputs from all stakeholders, it will accelerate skills development and job creation, strengthen environmental protection regulations, and ensure transparency and accountability in the sector. Funding or investments. Funding of investments in the industry. Given the rapid changing terrain of oil and gas industry, it has become imperative for government and stakeholders alike to find new and innovative ways of addressing the challenges that the industry is facing now and in the near term. As we are all aware, the oil and gas industry is very capital intensive. At every stage of exploration and production, the industry requires huge capital outlay to keep operations going. Many of the industry actors, especially the indigenous producers, require adequate funding from financial institutions to bankroll and sustain their operations. Presently, debts owed by upstream oil and gas sector represents about 19 to 25% of bank loans on their books. These have become major challenges given the limits to which banks can lend and to the limits to which they can be exposed to loans to the oil companies. Future opportunities. Opportunities abound in the oil and gas industry, among which are gas to power. That is close to 2 billion cubic feet of gas per day that is flared in our various fields in the country. This could generate close to 8,000 megawatts of electricity per day. You require 125 million cubic feet of gas to generate 500 megawatts of power. So 8 billion would generate 8,000 megawatts. With minimal investment in transportation lines and development of new non-associated gas fields, we can quickly get to 20 billion cubic feet of gas production per day that could generate more power, develop more NGLs, and NGL prices are extremely high nowadays, and even LNG, as bad as the prices are today. There are still new LNG on right now. Infrastructure construction and maintenance. I was shocked when I found out this morning that there are close to 160 oil fields in Nigeria and about 80 gas fields in Nigeria. I don't know why I'm surprised, but that's the figure, right? Each oil platform, depending on the location, from onshore to deep water, cost about $25 million to $500 million. Just think about it, okay? Nigerian yards are building platforms today. And I thought I had a picture of one of those yards, somewhere in here. Maybe not the deep water, or type or platforms. This is actually one that was actually built for Amni. Okay, so this is not them say. This is not, we took it from the internet. This is the picture of a plant that was that built Amni's wetland platform. Maybe this is an aspect of the industry that gobs over $2 billion per annum in building, installation, and maintenance cost. The sky is the limit here for those who want to get involved in this business. Among the future opportunities is financing. On the average, about $8 billion is spent in the Nigerian oil and gas industry, 8 billion. If you work hard enough, some of that 8 billion could be yours. The biggest problem is always financing for us in this industry. My recommendation is that if all the Nigerian banks are put together with their 23% sectoral limitation, they cannot fund the financial needs of the oil and gas industry a la. So my recommendation is that we, you, us, form our own oil and gas bank, like the Bank of Agriculture, the Bank of Industries, and so on and so forth. It may not solve all our problems, but they understand the oil and gas business. And the issues that we run into most of the time with Nigerian banks will be understood better by one of our own. At the worst, it will get us past where we are now. One other area of opportunity, which I think is actually just waiting to be picked by people, all right, is security. Security provision in the country is haphazard at best. Consequently, extremely expensive and hardly delivering the services. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry, which if modern technology is applied to our surveillance efforts, we could cut down on the costs and achieve more. There are opportunities here for people capable of thinking out of the box. Finally, and in conclusion, I would like to submit that the future of the oil and gas industry is promising. As we continue to progress in the creation and adoption of new technologies and the appropriate funding mechanism put in place for the industry as a whole, the possibilities remain endless with the oil and gas industry for several decades to come. Consensuous efforts should be made by the government to ensure proper and adequate legislation and management of the industry, including helping to put policies and guidelines in place, new and innovative structures like special funding mechanism, including the establishment or including helping us to establish a bank for oil and gas industry. The need to recalibrate the industry to invest in the energy of the future, that is gas. Incentives to explore for gas as primary objectives. Nigeria is a gas company that found oil along the way. But we always go and look for oil, but then we find gas along the way. So we need to put the proper incentive in place to encourage people to actually go and look for gas rather than making oil their primary objective. Provision and use of state-of-the-art technology to reduce costs and improve exploration, development, and production. We are not spending much, if any, on research. I don't know where Schlumberger Research Lab is in Nigeria, where ExxonMobil Research Lab is in Nigeria, where Shell, but I know there are research labs in Houston. I know where their research labs are in Houston. Well, okay, so maybe, they say we are here to exploit and go, but the government is here to stay. And we need to work with the government to put together a research center, whether it's going to be in geophysical or geophysics, in production technology, in whatever, a research center, the likes that you envy when you go to Houston. Somewhere, I don't care where you put it, that we can send our young ones to go and learn how to operate and manage the future of this industry. And finally, massive investments by the government in infrastructure to reduce the cost of doing business in Nigeria. And I think, along the way, that's my final, punchline, which is to say, I thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to come and address you today. I couldn't have done it without the will of God and your believing in me. And I wish you and everybody a very good and successful conference. God bless.
Thank you very much, Chief Dr. Tunde Afolabi, MFRF Nape, and indeed Chairman, CEO of Amni Petroleum Development Company. Amazing. Now, what I love about his keynote is that he has not only highlighted what those challenges are, he's left solutions, especially for those of you who come to Nape conferences seeking opportunities. He's also told you where you should be looking at. The question is, how far can you see? He's told us how much is spent in certain segments of the industry, fabrication. He's told us banking. I like that suggestion around an industry bank. And I have paraphrased it in my own way. The worst industry bank could be better than a limited commercial bank. And we thank him so much for sharing those insights and wisdom. And these are the reasons why we have these platforms to release this kind of solutions to what challenges is facing the industry. Can we please one more time give him a round of applause? Thank you very much, our keynote speaker. We continue real quickly now with our agenda. And this time you've heard our president-elect mention this, you've heard our president mention it, and that is the relevance of the pre-conference workshop as it has been in the last few years. It is through that pre-conference workshop and indeed a conference that Nape is able to engage with government and other stakeholders on the way forward for the industry. And this time we would listen again to the communique from this recently concluded pre-conference workshop for onward delivery to those in government. Please welcome with me the Rapporteur's Chair, Kazim Kulosha, as he takes us through the communique for the next 5 minutes.
Good morning, can you hear me? Good morning, my distinguished colleagues. I stand on all existing protocols, and I'll be here to read the communique of the pre-conference workshop of the National Association of Petroleum Explorationists on levers for optimal cost reduction in Nigeria's oil and gas production, positioning for the new normal, which was held virtually via Zoom link with the coordinating center here at the hotel yesterday, Monday, 16th of November. The Nigerian Association of Petroleum Explorationists, Nape, on the 16th of November, with the coordinating center at the Eco Hotel and Suites, Lagos, and being held virtually via Zoom link as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, held a pre-conference workshop with a theme, levers for optimal cost reduction in Nigeria's oil and gas production, positioning for the new normal. In attendance were senior technical professionals and captains of industry in the upstream oil and gas sector. The major objective of the workshop was to package industry expertise and informed perspectives for influencing oil and gas related policy making and execution, with the aim of seeking solutions to ensuring lower hydrocarbon production costs. The keynote paper was delivered by Mr. Roger Thompson-Brown, the Chief Executive Officer of Seplat PLC, whose topic highlighted resilience and strength within the context of the workshop theme. Other presented papers were as follows. 1, structuring the petroleum industry bills for long-term oil and gas industry competitiveness in Nigeria, which was delivered by Mr. Pedro Amotuemen, the country operations partner for PricewaterhouseCoopers. 2, inland basins exploration, opportunities for cost management, which was delivered by Mr. Abdullahi Bomai, the GGM frontier exploration of NNPC. 3 was the feasibility of $10 per barrel oil unit crude oil production cost in brownfields, which was delivered by Mr. Bala Wunti, the GGM of NAPIM's NNPC. 4th one was improving cost efficiency through joint industry operations and shared services, which was delivered by Mr. Chikezie Nwosu, the MD CEO of Watersmith Petroman Oil Limited. And the 5th one was local content participation in the Nigerian upstream, lowering barriers to entry by Mrs. Olajumoke Ojayi, the MD of Hasharami Energy, which is a subsidiary of Sahara Energy. The panel discussion was moderated by Mr. Lateef Amadou of Chevron Nigeria. The other panelists in the discussion were Mrs. Ifeoma Okeke, gas commercialization economist in NAPIMS, Mr. Prince Abangu, the divisional manager, digital and integration of Schlumberger, Mr. Shaye Fadaunsi FNAPE, who is the ex-non-executive director of Pillar Oil, has now retired, and Mr. Oge Peter, the head of commercial, Savannah Energy. The speaker stressed the importance of the hydrocarbon extractive industry to the Nigerian economy, with generating of over 60% of internal revenue, 90% of the foreign exchange receipts, and about 10% contribution to the overall GDP. The current realities of the industry are the drop in oil price, lowered demand, and its depressing effect on production levels and quotas, and a resultant fall in CapEx spending. There's also been an increased debt burden for oil-dependent economies such as Nigeria's. The long-term outlook for oil price hovers around the $50 to $55 mark per barrel by 2028 to 2029, which is a far cry from the over $100 per barrel level just seen over the space of 2009 and 2014. It was also noted that the position that oil companies occupied on the global stage is rapidly being overtaken by more high technology companies such as Tesla and Apple, which have overtaken the oil companies on various stock exchanges around the world. This in turn has made the risk associated with investing in these companies higher and the returns conversely lower. The effect on the investment climate in Nigeria is also a part of this macro environmental issue. The government has therefore made it a priority to reduce costs in order to make Nigeria a more attractive investment destination with a mandate of $10 per barrel for operating costs. Nape has chosen the pre-conference workshop theme this year in accordance with this objective. The following is the communique arising from all the presentations and discussions at the workshop. Number of key challenges were identified. One, the average production of cost in Nigeria is among the highest in the world, with various estimates placing the country in at least the 70th percentile for high overall production costs. There's also a significant tax burden associated with operating in Nigeria. Two, the many years since the PIB was first mooted in 2000 and the various iterations it has undergone without being passed have impacted negatively on investor confidence in Nigeria. It should be noted that even at the height of the oil price boom from 2008 to 2014, CapEx investment in the sector actually fell due to the uncertainty of the passage of the bill. The current slide since the price crash of 2015 has seen investment drop almost 18% year on year to date. As a result, over $30 billion of projects are still awaiting FID. Three, the break-even price and payback time for projects in Nigeria for new projects is one of the highest in the world. There is a capital cost premium ranging from 35 to 100% for project costs in Nigeria. Four, the time to realize projects is very long, and partly due to the long contracting cycles and approval processes most companies have to undergo. These are further elongated by increased traveling costs that comes with inspection of facilities and operations of contractor companies outside of Nigeria. Five, a significant portion of the operating costs in Nigeria are composed of human, crude handling, and logistics, which are a direct response to the various challenges thrown up by operating in the physical environment of the country. Examples of these challenges are the need for increased security due to kidnapping and vandalization of crude pipelines, aging infrastructure due to low level of investment, and a low level of standardization across the industry, since most of the companies started with a go-it-alone approach in the earlier days of their production history. Six, there's also a significant increase of cost due to the oversight, overlapping, and duplication in the regulatory areas. Seven, the reduced pace of exploration will also have a long-term effect on cost. The effect of resource depletion and its impact on the reserve replacement ratio will eventually outweigh the effects of technological advancements during the production stage. Eight, the impact of local content participation as envisioned in the Local Content Development Act is yet to be realized to its full extent due to a dearth of an infrastructural base to support it. For example, the lack of a local iron and steel industry, which is vital to indigenous participation in project development. And the last challenge that was identified was, furthermore, indigenous companies are highly leveraged, being responsible for about 90% of the $8 billion in debt owed by oil companies within the country. These companies also pay a higher cost for their debt due to the risk premium associated with them. This effect is very visible in the marginal field sphere, where only 9 out of 30 fields awarded in 2001 have been brought on production by 2016. A number of recommendations also came out of the pre-conference workshop, and I'll read them to you now. One, various companies, along with the NNPC, who is a partner to a lot of them, have embarked on contract renegotiation as part of cost-cutting and project delivery measures, and this will continue. 2, strategic partnerships, seeking cooperation, collaboration, and sharing facilities where possible are on the increase and should be encouraged further. This can be in the form of increased utilization of equipment and infrastructure, for example, vessels, helicopters, or rig sharing, and supply-based coordination. 3, reduce overhead through coordination and consolidation of resources and equipment. 4, standardization of specifications and routines for low complexity solutions, which are about 40% of the overall challenges within the oil industry. 5, a shortening of the contract approval cycle, which is a major factor in the high cost of production. The lead time for purchase of equipment can be reduced through inventory sharing and bundling of volumes to enable a better local presence for the contractor companies. 6, to harness technology to unlock cost savings, production optimization, operational efficiency, and regulatory approvals. 7, we should focus a lot of investment on gas, which is not necessarily following the same cycle as oil prices and can act as a hedge. To that effect, the government will also need to incentivize investment in the sector through the new measures in the PIB. 8, optimization of general and admin costs. 9, continually add to known reserves through a deliberate exploration program in the inland basins, as a lot of the easy oil fields in the Niger Delta region are already discovered. An example of this are recent discoveries in the Benue Trough, which included relatively shallow hydrocarbon-bearing units. 10, use relatively less expensive, high-impact technology and analogs to target and develop these resources. 11, set up an energy bank, which can provide low-cost loans to companies in this space. And the final recommendation was to revive base oil companies such as Ajaokuta Steel, which will provide the necessary impetus for the building of necessary utility infrastructure, and also encourage local companies to train their staff to efficiently deliver projects with reduced foreign components. Thank you for listening. And at this point, I would like to call on the president of Nape, Mr. Alex Saka, to take formal delivery of the communique. So, here's our job.
Hello. You hear me, please? It appears we have connection challenge. I'm not connected. I can see the screen, but I can't hear anyone. Mr. President, do you hear me? Is anyone hearing me? Control, do you hear me? Okay, thank you very much. I can see a confirmation that everyone is hearing me. Thank you very much for this privilege, even though I'm not connected to the audio from the other side. It's my very, very extreme privilege to address this conference, the 38th conference of Nape. Being a very ranking member of Nape, with due respect, a 1991 member is of course a long time. I know the history of this association to the extent that without the Nape's engagements and contribution to the oil and gas industry, will not be where we are today. And of course, it's a great privilege being also a fellow of Nape. But that put aside, I appreciate the fact that we're in very, very challenging times in the whole world. What COVID-19 did to our industry is monumental. First, it started with the collateral damage to the rest of the industries, entertainment, everything that you can think of. And of course, the collateral cost to the industry is we're expecting about $1 trillion of loss for E&P business across the globe.
Good afternoon, sir. Sorry to
good afternoon.
cut you short. We're having some technical issues on the end, and we are trying to sort that out. Right
Okay, I'll be on
now, we
standby.
can't hear you, but
I'll wait for your instruction. I'm on standby.
yeah. Thank you, GMD. We can come back now.
Can continue.
We can continue.
Sir. Can we hear him?
Do I continue? I can start all over. Thank you very much. If we have the time, I can start all over because we seem to have disconnected. I'd just like to repeat that this is a very great privilege addressing the 38th conference of our very great association, without whose work the oil and gas industry will surely not be what it is today. And of course, we all know that we are facing very challenging times in the industry today as a result of this. Even pre-COVID-19, we are aware of decline in demand for oil, particularly for the liquids, and that became more complicated with the entry of COVID-19. And what it did to us was an extreme decline in demand for oil. And of course, that goes along with it, with the forecast of about $1 trillion of loss across the industry through this year. And that can be very, very fatal for our business. But businesses must adjust. There are new opportunities that will have to come off. We have to do things very differently. We, as the national oil company, we decided to adjust our expectations from the industry. And that is simply to say that there are two things you have to do first you need to pull down your costs and increase your revenue. And there's no way of doing this except you take a full look at your portfolio, which is what we did with our partners. And I'm happy that big part of the outcome of the technical team that reviewed the pre-conference workshop that took place. And what we focus now on is to reduce cost, essentially. And you can't reduce costs if there is no collaboration, no shared resources. We are not able to optimize costs in areas that you can cut down costs. We are not able to look critically at our HR and admin costs, which is surely a critical part of our cost element in this business. And also investing in new terrain, particularly refocusing on gas development. And we have also seen the resilience of gas through the COVID-19 period. And that has taught us that in the energy transition, the gas business will be the business of the transition fuel, not necessarily the absolute transition fuel, but surely will be the greater player in the transition fuel scenario. And for us as a national oil company, we also decided with our partners that we're going to focus on gas development, but particularly in the domestic market and also for export. We are surely a gas country. Today we have over 600 trillion cubic feet of gas that is there to be extracted with the proven of about 203 trillion scope of gas. So we have done very little to these gas resources that we have. We are not able to monetize it properly over the period of time. And now we're focusing on this. And that can't work if you don't have the right fiscal environment. And as the many speakers must have alluded to it, the PIB will be the solution to this because without a clear fiscal environment, without clear incentives that are in place, no one is going to put his money into gas or any other form of development in the oil and gas sector. And by the time we are done with the PIB, which I'm very optimistic, I'm sure the Honorable Minister must have spoken to this, by the mid of next year, we are very, very confident that the PIB will come to pass. And once that is done, we'll see the renewed vigor in investment in this industry, particularly in the gas sector. And even as this goes along, we are doing very great things with our partners to find commercial solutions to some of our issues. And that is working both in the liquids and in the gas. And overall, we are seeing clear traction around greater development in this industry so that, without worrying about the impact of COVID, we know that this industry will survive. We all know that as the energy transition conversation goes on, the oil will be there in the next 30, 40, 50 years. We're confident that it will be there. But those who will survive it will be the most efficient, producers, those who can able to produce the cheapest cost, and also those who are able to go to market early. Otherwise, you'll be out of business, and our business will go out of consideration overall. We as a country, we are very, very resourceful country, huge population, very active middle class, and of course, the demand of the future in Africa will surely come from our country, and therefore we are focusing on deepening the utilization of domestic gas. As we do this also, I'm sure many of the speakers have alluded to this, the fact that investing in the frontier basin is a critical thing. We're happy today that we have found oil, commercial oil in the frontier basin, particularly in the Benue Trough, and that is going to change the dynamics of our work and our understanding of the reef basin structure in our country. We never thought that we could find this level of success, but now we are there. And of course, more importantly, it was found by Nigerian G&G professional, Nape members of Refuge that we know, and we're proud that these are done by Nigerian geoscientists. And that gave us more encouragement to focus on the frontier basin so that we can expand the areas of finds, both in the hinterland and also in the Anambra platform and the Calabar plank. And this is work in progress. We're doing enormous seismic work that no one is doing today. Only the NMPC does seismic work today to this scale, and also drilling in the frontier basins. And overall, the effect will be that we can have scattered finds across the country where monetization would probably become much easier to do, and also growing the reserves as part of the team of this conference, which is to grow our reserves and also expand the frontiers of success. So my colleagues and very distinguished executive of my great association, I know that times are tough, but the opportunities are very, very great for all of us to take advantage of. And of course, as a company, we're not just saying we reduce costs in the upstream. We have a target for it. We know that $10 oil is possible in this industry. A number of interventions are going on in terms of sharing resources, consolidating our resources so that it can be mutually utilized, connecting, reducing the contracting cycle, and very many things that we are doing today, which ultimately with the engagement between NAPIMS and our partners, and overall translating this to the industry, we know that this is possible. We know that significant progress has been made. We have seen cut cost the extent of to 20-30% now that we have seen that is happening today. So overall, by the end of 2021, as we think it is very, very realistic, we will see the $10 UTC cost by the end of the year. So that is very promising, and that's also good for our business, because otherwise this industry will not survive. I'm sure that we all know that there are very many climes where production of oil is done at less than $10 to the barrel. So except you do this, you can't be competitive, and people will have choices. Today, oil is being found in very many unexpected locations across the globe, and people have choices. The only advantage today we have probably is the quality of the oil that we have. And of course, we are one of the most extreme of cost of production jurisdictions in the world. So we have to pull this down. Otherwise, you will produce oil and you will find no one to buy from you because you cannot recover your costs ultimately. Lastly, and I would like to emphasize that this industry is challenged. Our members must sit back and see what value can we add, how do we latch on the new situations that we have found ourselves, how do we promote automation in our businesses, how do we make use of AI capabilities that is abound across the globe, how do we see the competition of the EV electric vehicles and the impact that it's going to have on our business, and very many more things that we should be concerned about. So as we do this, we need to grow the young people in our midst. They are here, we need to cultivate them. There are opportunities there, and kids these days are very, they are multi-talented, and the G&G environment will surely give them the challenge that they will require to progress. And as the conference continues, I urge you to stay safe and continue to observe all the high regulations of the CDC as we move forward. I know that this is tough. Would have wished that this is not a virtual conference, but this is the reality that we are facing today. But my hope and my belief is that by next year, we'll be able to have the regular, exciting Nape fiscal conference that takes place for the pleasure of all of us. Otherwise, thank you very much, Mr. President. I congratulate the incoming presidents, my Oga Madam, who was part of our mentors as we are growing up in the year. We are here to support you. NMPC is here and as always behind Nape in delivering value to our industry. Thank you very much all.
Thank you.
Mr. President, do we still have the connection challenge? Am I good to take off my video, or do I still keep it?
Just to
Just to again say that after the Vice President's address, we will recognize some of the Members who will be inducted as fellows at this year's conference will also recognize the outgoing exco. And then, of course, we would give Nape's most respected, Nape's most renowned award to the one individual who deserves it for 2020. Can I proceed? Thank you very much. Now, over again to Abuja, to the Office of the Honorable Minister of State, Petroleum Resources, who is representing His Excellency, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, SAN-GCON. To you, Your Excellency, Chief Timothy Silva.
Your Excellency, the 38th annual international. I feel honored to deliver this goodwill message on behalf of His Excellency, 8th annual international conference of the a virtual engagement themed accelerating growth in Nigeria's hydrocarbon reserves, emerging concepts, challenges, and opportunities. Nations on utilization of crude oil, increases distinguished delegates. I feel honored to deliver this goodwill message on behalf of His Excellency, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, at this 38th Annual International Conference and Exhibition of the Nigerian Association.
Okay, while they're trying to sort that out, let me tell you for those of you who are joining us online.
Excellent.
Let me walk you through what is left of our opening ceremony today, so that you know we're almost there. As I was saying, we will, after that award, we will then take a few more goodwill messages from sister associations. One will be taking live in the room here. The others will be taking their Zoom. We're also going to be taking a goodwill from the Director of the Department of Petroleum Resources. And thereafter, we'll announce the theme for next year's conference, as we have all been hoping and praying that we will gather again physically here in a hotel in 2021, because one of the biggest advantage of conferences like this is the networking opportunity it presents. Even though there are apps that allows people to network virtually, it is never the same as people meeting and interacting. I imagine that if it was a physical event we were having, the opportunities that our keynote speaker reeled out for us definitely would have triggered in the minds of some people what business ideas they can birth with that. He didn't just drop those figures, he told us in the sectors where those figures are being spent and how we can leverage that. He's also mentioned to us the importance of having research centers. My take on that will be that when we mention Halliburton and Schlumberger and many of these other companies that have all of these excellent research centers abroad, what we must keep in mind is they are companies. They are companies who have founded these research institutes for their own business growth and indeed industrial expansion. So my takeaway from that will be that companies, especially those indigenous companies in Nigeria, will begin to look seriously in that direction, because we have in the academia members of the association as well who are willing to champion the cause of such excellent centers for research and continuing education, if you like. We're doing a lot as Nape with our UAP, the University Assistance Program, as it were, as well as the YP engagement, remarkably well. But we must begin to really think about around those research centers. Without research, technology can never be developed to solve our problems, especially now that the world is gradually just closing their eyes from fossil fuel. We will always need fossil fuel. I think in the very foreseeable future, some have said in the next 20, 30 years, in Nigeria and Africa, there will be a great need for fossil fuel. So we need to find ways, should the technology stop coming from over there, we need to create our own. And if we don't start investing in research centers, we're definitely going to be shooting ourselves in the foot. While this is happening, I think it's okay for me to just recognize the outgoing executives. We'll quickly just do that. I recognize the outgoing executives and the three members. I think Nape Fellowship is such a very beautiful honor to be done on members. Hence, you don't find it giving to a lot of people every year. Just very deserving members, a few are nominated, screened, and the fellowship awarded to them. So when you see any of our members wear the fellows medal, like my president and my past president and keynote speaker is wearing, you know, and my BOT chairman is wearing, you know, he's not beans and bread. It's not where we're going. They have served and continue to serve. I love that part of Nape members. You find Nape members who've been here since 45 years ago, still attend all our, and I'm sure online, if I do a head count online, there are a lot of eminent members online as well who are joining virtually. We're really honored to have such active participation from senior and seasoned members. We truly appreciate that. Okay, so I guess I can go ahead with the outgoing executives recognition and our fellows recognition. I can go ahead with that. I can go ahead with that. Thank you very much. We're ready for that now. The VP's address. Okay, we're ready for the VP's address. Okay. So we'll take the VP's address now. There's another network hitch. I will come back and do the needful. The VP's address now from the Honorable Minister of State.
Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, I feel honored to deliver this goodwill message on behalf of His Excellency, Professor Yemi Osibajo, SAN, Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, at this 38th Annual International Conference and Exhibition of the Nigerian Association of Petroleum Explorationists, Nape, a virtual engagement themed Accelerating Growth in Nigeria's Hydrocarbon Reserves, Emerging Concepts, Challenges and Opportunities. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no gainsaying the fact that the growth and development of some nations is heavily dependent on energy availability and utilization, especially on crude oil and increasingly on natural gas. Renewable energy is becoming a cheaper form of energy, and responses to climate change widely attributable to fossil fuel effluent keep growing. Therefore, reduced dependence on hydrocarbon resources over the next century seems inevitable. That notwithstanding, technology and discussions to date suggest that hydrocarbon will remain the dominant source of energy in the immediate future. The increased level of uncertainties about oil and gas demands and the emerging technologies in alternative energy become important elements in making decisions on optimal exploitation of petroleum resources. This is more critical now that abundant hydrocarbons are being discovered in the most unconventional geological basins of the world. I therefore wish to suggest that our concepts for this very important conference should include, but not limited to, provision of secure and economic energy supplies to meet expanding needs, responding to climate change that may arise from our choices, responding to the new normal that is caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, coping with the economic downturn globally. In the past few months, we have faced challenges resulting to sudden slump in crude oil prices caused by the collapse in demand due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The low price and OPEC plus crude oil production curtailment have largely resulted in lower revenue generation for the government. One of the current cardinal mandates of the Ministry of Petroleum Resources is to drastically reduce the unit cost of crude oil production in order to increase government revenue. It is imperative that in our current era of scarce resources, we should aim at a unit cost production in single digits. Concerted efforts should be brought to bear to achieve and sustain this. Another key mandate of the Petroleum Ministry is to ensure the growth of the country's reserve base to at least 40 billion barrels in crude oil, as well as the production capacity to 3 million barrels of crude oil per day. We are fully committed to this mandate and confident that we will achieve the desired goal of finding more hydrocarbon deposits in the Nigerian basins, notwithstanding the curtailment in production. We have the assurance that production curtailment will soon be over as the world economy improves. In order to grow our reserves, we have proposed fiscal incentives that will attract investments in our basins in the petroleum industry bill. In addition, the fiscal provisions for gas business will be one of the most attractive in Africa. Therefore, opportunities abound for geoscientists, engineers, and numerous other service providers in the shortest time to come. However, in order to significantly grow our hydrocarbon reserves, we need to invest in research and development so as to support the industry. We need effective synergy and collaboration amongst policymakers, academic institutions, professional bodies, oil and gas industry players, and the research and development centers to come up with innovative ideas and technologies for cost-effective exploratory and drilling activities. This is my expectation from your association. On behalf of His Excellency, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I thank the organizers for the invitation to deliver the goodwill message at this auspicious event. Wishing you all fruitful deliberations.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Professor Yemi Oshimbajo, SAN, GCON, Vice President of the Republic of Nigeria, and Chief Timi Silva, Honorable Minister of State Petroleum Resources, who has represented him there. Okay, production containment will be stopped soon. That sounds like good news to me. I love it. Anyways, we continue now with our event. As I said, we will be just recognizing this morning our outgoing executive and our 3 recipients for the Fellowship Award before we go over to the Irene Adams Award. So for the outgoing executive, we do have our president who switched over to IPP, Mr. Alex Nachitaka F. Nape. As I call them, please give them that round of applause. It's a serious show of appreciation for the work they've done. Okay, we have the Vice President. I'm sure he's online. Perhaps we'll see his picture. Oh, Mr. Abiodun Ogunjobi, I didn't see you coming. Good morning, sir. Of course, even our president-elect is outgoing as PE. So, Pat Ochobu F. Nape, good morning. Emmanuel Egbele, General Secretary. Charles Otohile, Assistant Secretary. Mascot Ogujemiyo, Treasurer. Dr. Anthony Oforma, Financial Secretary. Dr. Christopher Jackson, Editor-in-Chief. Abdulateef Amodu, Publicity Secretary. Dr. Juliet Emudianuhe, Assistant Editor-in-Chief. Emo Dayetuwei, Port Harcourt Coordinator. Ehi Bazwaye, Abuja Chapter Coordinator, Wilson Osson, Warri Chapter Coordinator, Edward Oza, Bini Chapter Coordinator, Dr. Ekere Akpan, Uyo Calabar Chapter Coordinator, Dr. Abimbola Durugbiton, UK Europe Chapter Coordinator, Ajibola Oyebamiji, FNAPE, Immediate Past President, Dr. Emmanuel Maduawea, University Assistance Program Chair. Can we please give them a round of applause? President, want to say something, or should I just go ahead? If you want to, please come. Keep the applause coming. Even those of you online, you can just type in the comment section, say, thank you, outgoing executive. 2020 was a tough year, and they have delivered.
Once again, on behalf of the outgoing executive committee of Nape, under my leadership, I want to sincerely thank our BOT, the Advisory Council, and the entire fellowship and membership of Nape for giving us opportunity to serve. We've served in one of the most trying periods, and because we choose to work as a team and with your support, we've been able to forge ahead. The director of DPR said if Nape was a bird, he would have classified Nape as an eagle. It is our hope that Nape will continue to weather the storm. It is our hope that Nape will not have cause to cancel any conference in the history of the association, no matter the challenges. Once again, we appreciate you. The ESCO, those virtually and those of you here physically, I appreciate your level of cooperation. And it is hope that those that will still be in the ESCO will help the incoming ones so that Nape will be sustained and the vision and mission will continue to get it to the dream of the founding fathers of the association. Thank you very much for your cooperation.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. You may be seated. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you. Your Excellencies, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, 2020, 3 members in 2020 will be inducted into what we now know as the very, very prestigious Fellows Hall of Fame. And we have Nonye Ngogbo. Nonye Ngogbo is going to be inducted a fellow. If we can, okay. Second amongst the 3 is Elliot Ibie. Elliot Ibie will also be inducted a fellow in 2020. And then finally, completing the trio is Bashir Koledoye. At the awards night, you will get to know a bit more about these 3 people that I have mentioned their names. So can we please give them a round of applause? The 3 inducted in 2020. Harriet Adams, I'm told, was one industry leader who came and left his footprints in the sands of time in the oil and gas industry. Many experts that I meet in the academia and the industry credit their excelling in this industry to either coming in contact with him or being mentored by him. He is a man that is considered as one of the finest public servants to ever serve in this industry. So I am told, of course, I didn't meet him, and I believe every word of that and even more. No little wonder Nape decided that her highest honor, giving to an earth scientist of repute, should be named after such a man of great pedigree. And I'm delighted this morning to say that Nape has selected one of the industry's finest professionals to do that honor to in 2020. Since I have been a part of the association, even before I came to be here, Nape recognizes these recipients at the opening ceremony every year. What an honor and privilege I feel to invite the recipient of this award for 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, those of you online and in the room, please welcome with me the 2020 Harriet Adams Award recipient, Chief Dr. Tunde Afolabi, FNAPE MFR. And I would want to, Mr. President, with your permission, also invite his lovely wife. He will not be this successful without her. So joining him on stage as we take his citation is Engineer Afolabi. Keep the applause coming. Keep the applause coming. Keep the applause coming. Once they get on the center of the stage, you can roll the citation.
F. Nape is the Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Amni International Petroleum Development Company Limited, a leading indigenous petroleum exploration and production company. An illustrious investor and businessman with a fervent belief in the promotion of human capital development. He is actively engaged in the creation of opportunities for economic development, especially employment for the continent's young population. His interests span all economic sectors, including power, oil and gas, real estate, and manufacturing. He sits on the board of several companies across the globe. He earned his bachelor's degree in geology from Franklin and Marshall College in Pennsylvania and a master's in geology from Tulane in New Orleans. He is also a product of the prestigious Lagos Business School. He worked as a senior geologist with Texaco from 1974 to 1978, before joining Williams, Phoenix, and Season as an engineering geologist. He also worked with Mobile as a project geologist before establishing Exploration Consultants Incorporated in 1993. Chief Afolabi incorporated Amni International Petroleum Development Company as a founding managing director and chief executive officer. He is also a director at Crescent Oil Company. He is a recipient of numerous distinctions and honors. In 2001, he was conferred the national honor of Member of the Order of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, MFR, for his immense contributions to the oil and gas sector and national development in general. He was conferred with a Doctorate of Technology honoris causa by Ladoke Akintola University of Technology of Bomosho in 2009 and a Doctor of Geology honoris causa by Ajayi Crowther University, Oyo State in 2017. In 2018, he was appointed the Pioneer Chancellor of the Technical University, Oyo State. He was conferred a Doctor of Science honoris causa by Redeemers University, Osun State in 2019. Honorary Fellow of the Energy Institute and appointed Chancellor of the Ajayi Crowther University, Oyo State in 2019 as well. As a professional geologist with over 35 years in oil and gas exploration and production experience with international companies, he is a member of the American Association of Petroleum Geologists, a member of the Order of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, a past president of the Nigerian Association of Petroleum Explorationists, and a council member of the Nigerian Association of Indigenous Production and Exploration Companies, NIPEC. He is an active supporter of non-partisan and socio-political engagements across Africa and a member of several other professional bodies. He is the immediate past president of the Petroleum Club Lagos and a member of the advisory board. He is the chairman of Josephus Foundation, a non-profit organization established for services to God and humanity. The foundation, which has over 100 students under a sponsorship scheme, including 7 geology students at the Ajayi Crowther University, Oyo State. He has consistently sponsored many geological and petroleum associations for over 10 years. These include the Nigerian Association of Petroleum Explorationists, Nigerian Mining and Geosciences Society, and the Society of Petroleum Engineers, amongst others. He also has plans in contributing to the building of Research Institute at the Technical University Ibadan, Oyo State, Josephus Institute of Earth Sciences, Redeemers University Ede, Osun State, and Ajayi Crowther University, Oyo State, to mention a few. He has been honored with several awards at home and abroad in recognition of his contributions to the business world and human development. He is married with children. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we present to you the recipient of the 2020 Aret Adams Award, Chief Dr. Tunde Joseph Afolabi, MFR F. Nape.
I think we can keep the applause going. We can keep it going. It's Aret Adams, 2020.
You can continue to clap, both virtually and physically, while several other things that go with this have been brought forward. On behalf of the Executive Committee of Nape, our Board of Trustees, Advisory Council, distinguished fellows of this association, and the entire membership. So we feel honored having you as the winner of the highest award within the association, which you well deserve, looking at all that you have accomplished. In recognition of your services to the industry, the nation, the humanity, I want to call on one of our elder statesmen, the chairman of the Board of Trustees, to present this award, our own Chief Chamberlain Oibo, FNAPE, past president, one of the founding fathers of this association. It is too big an award for me to handle. I want to honor our second president, one of the founding fathers of this association. We present this on behalf of the association. Thank you, sir.
On behalf of the society, I present this to you. Tunde Joseph Afolabi. Now I know why you have been a dreamer, because of that name, Joseph. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It goes also with this. You choose to put them at different locations within the offices and in the house. This will be pinned on him by you, sir. We appreciate each and every one of you who is a witness to this, and we look forward to having more of such on an annual basis. Congratulations, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, before you leave, sir, you will just say, I know you've spoken as a keynote, but as an Aret Adams Award, honoree, if you just a minute or two is fine, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
A lot of times some of us work very hard to establish projects like this. And sometimes we end up not being beneficiaries of them. I was one of the pioneers that actually put the Adams Award together. Those of you who know Aret, any time of the day Aret sees you, what does he say? Good morning. Happy New Year, sorry. Anytime he sees you, he could have seen you 3 times in one day. He will say, Happy New Year. And that was the kind of person Aret was. And when I was president in 1999, 2000, some of you guys were still in diapers. I wanted Aret to be the keynote speaker, but I know that Aret as the, I think that's when they started this Minister of State business. As the Minister of State for, I think, Absalam, Abubakar, I invited Absalam as the guest of honor. But the man called me and said, Tunde, you know I don't know your industry. So what do you want me to do? I said, send your minister. So I know that if Aret had gone to the president to say that he was invited to be the guest of honor for Nape, he could have been sending him to Gambia or whatever, and he would not show up. But since he was representing the president, I know he will show up. Now, the story I'm trying to make was that we had that conference at Muson. The conference was supposed to start at 9. Aret got there at 8 and asked us to just get him a cup of tea. Those are the kind of things that some of you never realized about somebody like Aret. And he was GMD of NMPC. He was a minister, you name it, in this industry. And that's what a lot of us, I just loved about him. And my brother here, who here and I shared office together at Texaco in 1974 in New Orleans, just call me a dreamer now. That's what Aret used to call me, Mr. Dreamer. And the dream was the indigenous industry. And the first point I made was that a lot of us actually work very hard to establish institutions, all right, and we never benefited from it. And I was lucky enough to be one of the quote-unquote pioneers of putting this indigenous industry together. And luckily, we became beneficiaries. So what we are doing today is an attestation, without knowing, that yes, I was one of the 3 or 4 or 5 people that said, let us go and convince the elders that we need to do those things. And we were successful. I think Bayo Akinpelu, my so-called road runner, Lai Faton. Oh, by the way, he sent his goodwill wishes. So today, as we are talking right now, he's been conferred with a honorary degree by his alma mater, University of Ibadan. So I put that one in. So I thank you all. There is nothing we cannot achieve, nothing. Once we put our minds to it, to say that this is what I wanted to do. And some of the things that I listed in, what are the opportunities in this industry? They are really opportunities. But you know that, those of you who are geologists, if you put pyrite and gold together, some of you will miss it. That which one is the real gold and which one is the real pyrite? I mean, which one is pyrite, okay? So if you don't really reach for the gold, you will not get it. And my advice to you today is to look at people like us, all right? And say, I want to be like him. And what is it that he did coming up that I can emulate? Not everything that most of us did. My MD stupidly one day said that I like to be like my chairman in some areas. So he thought I had forgotten, but he will pay for it one of these days, But seriously though, it is, without a mentor, you're not going to make it. And I mean that. And reaching out to some of us, and some of us still have some time, right? And just getting close. I'm finding out what is it like. Some of us smell. Maybe you don't want to get that close. But really, seriously, without a mentor, you're not going to make it. And God has already established who your mentor is. There is not going to send you his address. You have to find out yourself. And with that, I know who my mentor was, all right? And I will never forget him. And I'm sure every one of us who have succeeded in life, every time you hear Kerry talk, the new GMD, it calls everybody Oga, okay? Because he had walked along the way with a lot of us in this room and in this industry. And it is his belief that along the way, he had garnered something from everybody. That could be just his mentor. So please, just struggle or ascribe or whatever you call it, all right, to be the best, to be the best. And I pray that God in his infinite mercies will see you through to wherever it is that your mind and your heart desires to be. I thank you once again for not letting me pass into the beyond before you now give me posthumous award of Adams. So thank you. God bless you. And thank your committee for me. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Without a mentor, you wouldn't make it. Interesting. Amazing, amazing. Put your eye on the gold and ensure you get the gold from the, is it pirate you said? Eh? I got it. Sammy geology, small. Congratulations. Please, one more time, a resounding applause for Chief Dr. Tunde Afolabi, MFRF Nape. Remarkable, remarkable. Wow. This is beautiful. And I'm sure all of you online are leaving the congratulatory messages there in the Zoom chat box. Feel free, congratulate him. He has given you a charge. Find a mentor. Find a mentor. It could be him. It could be any one of the senior members. Find a mentor. Many more CEOs needs to come out of Nape. So you need to interact with the CEOs to become a CEO. That's the summary of what he has said. And he has said he is available, but find the mentor. Thank you very much, sir, for those wise words. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Your Excellencies, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Nape is not a standalone association in the oil and gas industry. There are sister, if you like, partner associations that work with Nape in delivering value to the government of Nigeria as long as the industry is concerned. And we're delighted to have one of such industry partners, partner associations in the room with us this morning. I hope it's still morning. Yes, it is. And I'd like to welcome now the Chairman, Society of Petroleum Engineers Nigerian Council for 2020-21, Engineer Olatunji Akinwumi of Total.
Thank you, Richmond. Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Just permit me to stand on the existing protocols, but I would like to make a special mention of the distinguished personalities seated here. So first and foremost, the president of Nape, thank you, our host, Mr. Alex Nachitaka. If there was Nape royalty, I think I'm in front of one. I think I would like to say a very big congratulations to Chief Tunde Afolabi. I heard part of the speech while I was walking down. The speech was inspiring and his achievements are even more inspiring. So we'll take your advice, we'll take every word that you have said very seriously. We will not be like your MD, we will do better. I think I would have to say a word also about the only person who's affiliated to SP here, a member of the BOT. Good morning, Ma. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen. So on behalf of our society, Nigeria Council of the Society of Petroleum Engineers, I would first of all start by expressing our sincere gratitude to the leadership of Nape, as well as the organizers of this conference for the invitation that you have extended to us to give these few words of goodwill. I would also like to congratulate the Nape for organizing this event, because this is supposed to be a hybrid event, much more difficult than a physical conference, much more difficult than a virtual conference. So well done and congratulations to the entire team. The year 2020 has been a remarkable one, essentially due to what we all know, the global pandemic, which has continued to make its very negative impact felt in every aspect of human endeavor, and by extension, our industry, the energy industry. The fact that we are having this conference in a hybrid format is a sign that we are adapting fast to the times. For us at the SPE, this year we also had to introduce a virtual alternative seminar to our flagship conference, which was held in the month of August, the NEITS. As you all know, commodity prices are falling to their lowest levels. We heard that in the past 20 years, we have not seen a level that low. Investments have been significantly reduced and even canceled in some cases by companies and governments, somewhat exacerbating the existing problems faced by our industry that is in a period of transition, a transition that is driven by the need to reduce global greenhouse gas emissions, while still having to supply more energy to a growing world population. The theme that Nape has selected for the conference this year, Accelerating Growth in Nigeria's Hydrocarbon Reserves, Emerging Concepts, Challenges and Opportunities, is really a timely one. We hope that the conversations that will be facilitated between industry experts, academics, government representatives around this important theme will lead to immediate positive actions in the resuscitation of exploration in the Niger Delta and in the other basins within Nigeria, endowed with very significant potential. And I dare say they are still world-class, yet to find exploration potential contained in these basins. In terms of technical attractivity, the proved prolific Niger Delta Basin, in which over 90 billion barrels of oil equivalent, oil and gas, have been discovered, is still a preferred destination, as I'm certain that all of us are aware. By some estimates, there might be remaining exploration potential of up to 20 billion barrels of oil equivalent, a significant portion of which could be gas, as has been mentioned, a transition fuel whose contribution is expected to grow in the overall energy mix, and which could and should contribute to the accelerated development of the nation. Despite this huge exploration potential and the presence of major IOCs as well as indigenous companies in Nigeria, there has been no significant exploration to write home about in the past decade. The efforts and achievements of exploration in this time period in the oil and gas sector are not at all in alignment with the enormous potential. To make matters worse, there are several apparently stranded but potentially cash-accretive major discoveries, especially in the deep water, with no immediate development strategy in sight, also limiting the capacity of the operators to fund future building exploration activities. And I think some of this was also mentioned. Access to new acreage, as well as attractive governance and fiscal terms, are some of the key enablers to unlock our enormous potential. This is an area where cooperation between the industry, the government, and the key government agencies is essential to formulate and implement policies that will enhance the value creation of our industrial activities from exploration through development and production to field abandonment. And this is especially essential in a situation where the space is really reduced by geographical headwinds on one part. This is competition from other countries with more attractive fiscal terms, not necessarily as much exploration potential. And secondly, there are also financial headwinds because the funds for development, for exploration and development now is globally scarcer in light of the planned gradual transition from fossil fuels dependence to an energy mix that will have increasing contribution from renewables. There's every need to encourage and support speedy win-win resolutions of the outstanding blocking points in the new PIB, as time is not necessarily on our side. The Nigerian Council of the SPE, as an active stakeholder in the industry, is ready, willing, and able to partner with Nape to achieve this goal of accelerating the growth of our hydrocarbon reserves. The continuous development of our approximately 10,000 members, professional and student, in the 7 major technical disciplines of drilling, completions, HSC, management and information, production and operations, projects, facilities, and construction, as well as reservoir, makes us an ideal partner, together with Nape, to make quick progress in the area of growth of hydrocarbon reserves in Nigeria. The energy transition period, finally, also implies a remarkable shift towards quality, which the Council has fully integrated in its modus operandi. Just as an example, this new Council year, we have created a Digital Transformation and New Technologies Committee, which will help orient sustainable solutions for increased use of digital technologies and overall process simplifications, which will contribute to reducing operating costs, as was mentioned, across board, and help in the larger goal of accelerating increase in hydrocarbon reserves. So I'll round up my speech by once again expressing our sincere gratitude for this opportunity and to wish all participants a very, very fruitful deliberations and also a very enjoyable conference. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Akinwumi Olatunji, Chairman SPE Nigerian Council 2020-2021. Thank you. Okay, Your Excellencies, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we're on the home stretch now. And very quickly, I'd like to invite the President last time for this opening ceremony to please unveil and announce the theme of the 2021 conference. Can we please welcome our President? Let's keep the applause going.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is more of an annual ritual in Nape that as one conference is rounding up, during the opening ceremony, a new conference team will be announced. Can we project? A new conference team will be announced to prepare our minds that we are willing to forge ahead. So for year 2021, as projected, will we be continuing with our conference for the year? The theme for 2021 conference shall be exploration and production in a new world. What next after the global crisis? We're in a global crisis, nobody is in doubt. The date will be November, which is our fixed month for the conference, between 14th to 18th, 2021. The venue will still be a co-hotel. We are hopeful that COVID must have taken a break to enable us to meet physically. We are very hopeful the vaccines will be found, and we are going to take those vaccines, and we believe they will work, and that will enable us to start meeting without mask and socially be. Thank you very much. The sub-teams will be announced at a later date. I've quarter. We appreciate the subcommittee that has put this together under the leadership of the president-elect. We appreciate each and every one that has been a part of this. Our Elliot Ebie, one of the very new fellows who also championed this with other distinguished members of this association. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you very much. God bless.
Aye, Konida from Corona. Anyways, we continue now to close this opening ceremony as I like to welcome the President-elect, Pat Ochobu F. Nape, for the vote of thanks.
Well, thank you all for staying the course. Those of you in the room physically and those of you logged on virtually. We took a bit of your time, but I'm sure you would agree with me that it's been time well spent. Thank you all very much for everything you have done to make this event a success. I must particularly thank every member of my conference planning committee. You guys are awesome. Our sponsor for today, AMNI, we are very grateful. And we thank you for honoring us with your presence, despite all that is going on. We appreciate you. We appreciate you, our members of the BOT, and all the other members who are here present. Thank you very much. And this ends the program for today.
So management session is at 1 p.m. This ends the opening ceremony, she's saying. So management session is at 1 p.m. right in this room. We're going to do management session right in this room. For those of you online, I'm sure it's the same link. It's the same link. They're getting another link. Okay, so if you're eligible to be part of the management session, you will be sent the link, or you already have the link for the management session. It starts in another about 51 minutes from now. Thank you all very much. See you at the opening ceremony of 2021. Richmond Osuji is my name. Bye-bye. For those of us in the room,